How's it going? How's it going out there? Good to see you. Welcome back. I love you. Come on in. Oh boy. You'll probably know at this point in the video what it's about more than I do because I don't know. It just feels weird. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I brought tarot cards just in case. I don't feel like being funny. Like I don't feel anything funny bubbling up that I just gotta say. I don't feel like I have a message. Actually, it's been really weird. So let me just tell you where I'm at, and maybe you're there. Maybe we're vibing. So if you're vibing with this, stick around, and maybe there's something for you here. If you're not, like, just give it a minute. All right. So, where am I at here? You know what? Just go. Just this might take me a while. I did sit still quietly for a few minutes before this to collect my thoughts. Not even to collect my thoughts, just to see what comes and give it up. Like here I am. I'm a vessel. Like use me. And then some things came to mind that kind of cleared things up, and I was like, is that the message? And then a crow, like, bam, and I'm actually, that's for real. I'm not making that up. So I was like, all right, well, maybe it's time to turn this thing on and start talking. So what's happening with my being is all of a sudden, and if you've been watching, you've known that I was not watching the news for months and months and months, and then the last couple of months I've let myself watch and see what's going on, and if you've been watching me, you're smart enough to know that what we see out there isn't the whole story or even the story, and then what's that story for, and blah 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 blah, and we get it, and we know that we're not privy to that information, and for me sometimes that just like, especially this go round, this is why I didn't want to make this video, because it just feels negative, and it feels negative out there, and it feels negative in my head, and I just didn't want to put anything negative out there, because it feels like this is not a time for anything negative out there, like, I mean, we're all gonna experience it and feel your feelings and negative isn't bad, but man, the energy out there is affecting the energy in here, and I don't know if that's what you're feeling, but that's the way I'm feeling, and it's a bit chaotic, and with my human brain I'm trying to make sense of it and trying to predict what's going to happen, and that is super frustrating, because I feel like I'm trying to make a prediction based on incomplete and maybe incorrect data. And I'm not out there studying the world. I'm not an economist or a political whatever, historian or whatever, but just right now it feels like a lot of stuff is yucky at the same time, and getting yuckier, and so I know I've felt this way before, and where there've been world events and news, and I've gotten wrapped up in it, and I know it's done me no good to do that, but there's part of me that's like, well, I need to be prepared. I need to know, and I need to be prepared, and so that fear side creeps in, and add that to what I've been doing. I mean, you've got your own, what you've been going through. We don't need the world to be on fire. We're already on fire and working through it, So what was I gonna say? Where was I talking? But yeah, my own stuff, like I going through this spiritual weird stuff, and I realize now that the reason I stashed all that cash during COVID was to have this time that I didn't have to work, so I could actually survive what's happening to me. Now it all makes sense. As far as, like, I thought I was saving money for, buying a duplex, to to secure my future and have rentals and whatever. And then the prices went crazy, and my little savings wasn't enough to do that when everybody was snatching up. That is way off to the side. Oh man, should we be illuminated? Ooh, that's a little light. That's like laser focused in my face. So I'll be shady. There's a little fly walking around this crack of wood. Was it a sign? It's a sign? No, it's a sign that I'm being distracted. So yeah, so I've been struggling with like, hey, you know, the universe, God, whatever we're up to calling it, the force, the source, the creator, the thing that I am suddenly aware of and in contact with, sort of, kind of trying. I have been trying to live in alignment with that and follow these feelings, and I've detached from a ton of stuff, and I now see the trend that those things weren't bad things at all, you know, but the way I was attached to them was unhealthy or became unhealthy. So like, you know, coaching, you know, when I was a young coach was great, and I was learning, and the kids were learning, and blah 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 blah, and you know, maybe, you know, later in my career it became about like, you know, oh, what, you know, what do I look like, you know, as a coach, or what's my whatever gonna be. And it's like, dude, that's yeah, you know. And I just put too much identity into that, and or even relationships, you know. It was like I put too much of my own worth and self-worth on how somebody else saw me, and I'm learning, I'm getting over it. So I've had to detach from some things, and these are like the legit tangible things that I've detached from, and you know what, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm tied to this. And so, and I realized that everything had its purpose, and I was tied to it for a reason, you know, and the detachment came when it needed to come. And so anyway, so last night I was sitting there, and you know, I've got these worried feelings that keep cropping up, and I'm trying to, you know, realize that negative thoughts, you know, or just thoughts in general, are not me, and I don't have to attach to them. But you know, so, but all of a sudden I'm kind of like back into that negative whatever. Where am I going with that? Because it's I'm gonna wait until those words come back. Oh, so yeah, so you know, and it comes in phases where I can say, hey, I accept where I'm at, you know, da 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 da, and when everything's hitting right, I accept it all, and I get into that position of like, I can do it because, you know, whatever. And then, you know, and just whatever, like, look at I've gotten this far, you know, like I'm healthy and I'm happy and everything's okay. And so I'm like, trust that it's gonna be well. So but that worry keeps cropping in, and I realize I was just thinking about it as like those emotions and thoughts that even though we know, like, hey, that's not mine, or I don't need that, or whatever, they still crop in. And I now kind of liken it to like, you know, like I drank beer forever, and when I quit, you know, for the first year there were triggers like, oh, the start of a season, or the, you know, the end of practice, or the, you know, we're going to float the river or whatever. And so all these different or Christmas, or yeah, all of it, just anything that had to do with beer, you know, kind of had a little trigger. And but then, you know, after one cycle of it, those triggers pretty much went away for me. And you know, I was like, I was able to detach very easily. Every once in a while I'll get like a weird pang, like, man, an IPA at a cool place to hang out on a, I don't know. And then I'm like, no, I don't want to hang out with those people. Anyway, so all right, but like my emotions and worry, I realize, you know, I'm learning all these things, I'm giving them up or whatever, and I'm like, you know, that worry still keeps cropping up, and I'm like, you know, maybe it's kind of left over, like, you know, like a pang, and it's a habit, but it's more ingrained because it's part of my daily life, you know, like. So I was thinking about worry and then detachment, and I was like, I can detach from worry, you know, like, I just saw it as its own weird cocoon that was attached to me, and I was like, I could picture myself sever it, and yeah, like I cut it off, and it's, you know, come back a couple of times, and I'm like, I can detach myself from worry. I was like, what else can I detach myself from? You know, like those things that I've dealt with, but that keep, like, it's almost like a little wasp's nests, you know, that they start, and then, you know, like if you catch them in time, it's not a big deal, but, you know, they grow and they, yeah, whoa, oh, that was a good one. But yeah, I'm like, I could detach from that stuff. So anyway, so maybe that's a message someone needs to remember, like, you don't have to worry. And so the feeling I felt last night was, I mean, because I'm worried about finances, worried about the world, and worried about, you know, like, how am I going to navigate the world based on my resources and my whatever. And that's, I think, what we're all doing, right? We're assessing that. And I was like, well, you know, like, if I'm being taken care of, you know, like, when, and, you know, how much, you know, like, I feel like I'm supposed to be okay, and at first that means money, you know, like enough money to pay the bills and you know, do whatever you need to do. And I'm like, okay, so if I'm not working and the money, you know, whatever, and what do I do, and how much time and money, and, you know, whatever. And then I was like, well, you know, God will take care of that, and you don't have to worry about it. Like, the universe has got your back. And I felt it, and I was like, yeah. And the other thing was, it's like, maybe it's not money. You know, like, maybe it's I really do feel, and I'm not trying to be negative, but there's going to be some pretty big changes coming up, and I'm gonna try to just keep a curious distance. You know, I'm living in it, we're all gonna live in it, but, like, watch it with curiosity to know it's just kind of a phase, and live out the role that was laid out for me, you know, that I will be the vessel through which God and the universe live out this life, and I don't have to worry about it, you know, like, I don't, you know, if I get really good at this, I won't even have to think about it. I just go day to day, just, you know, trying to live in alignment. And so, yeah, I brought those tarot cards down here. I didn't know what I was gonna do. That feels like the message. Oh, the one message. Okay, so this is the most important part. Was, yeah, I'm so glad that I took the time. Thank you, Crow. Thank you, Bug. Thank you, tarot cards. They're taking a break today. The sentence that came to me when I let myself be quiet and whatever was, we need to talk. And at first I thought, and I was like, is that the title of, you know, like, is that a catchy title for the video? And then I was like, does that mean I need to talk with you? Wait, does that mean God needs to talk to me? Wait, does that mean God needs to talk to you? And then I was like, it could mean it all. Like, it just could mean it all. And so, like, yeah, we need to talk. And so then, you know, just letting that soak in, it just meant to me that with all the noise and the stuff out there built to distract you, built to try to get your attention, to spend your dollars, to make you think one way or whatever, it's a lot of noise. But we need to quiet down. Well, we're being asked to, like, quiet down and have chat with bigger forces, better energies. Oh dear. Okay, I think that's the message. I really feel like people that didn't make it to the end just got like a weird, like partial, well, they got what they needed, right? All right, here we go. Ah, see, all is illuminated. All right, I love you. Goodbye.